Starting with arguably the most famous match in TNA history.
That's right, Rhino and Raven.
No, the X Division Championship match at Unbreakable 2005.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
As Christopher Daniels defends the X Division title against AJ Styles and Samoa Joe.
So, I guess heading into this, let's just hit it off the bat. Garrett, is this the best match in TNA history?
No.
Wow, why do you hate it?
You know what my sneaky hot take has always been?
That the sequel is better?
Well, there's been multiple sequels, but yes, the Turning Point 2009 match is better.
Why? Sell me and the fans on it.
Without going too deep into this match itself, I think the first half of this match is an all-timer, and then the second half is pretty good. Not pretty good, it's very good.
I don't think I noticed the particular drop-off, but I don't know.
I think the Turning Point is more consistent.
Interesting. Well, in 7 years when we cover it, I'll let you know.
You will definitely remember everything we talked about.
Of course. I'm a professional now.
There is a surprising lack of build to this match.
It's just kind of like, for the month, you know it's gonna happen.
And it's the classic TNA thing where like most of the build was actually done coming out of the pay-per-view match last time, where Daniels interfered in the Super X Cup final and cost AJ the match. The match was meant to be Joe against Daniels, AJ gets added. That's basically the entire build.
Do you think there's not as much build as you may think because AJ was hurt?
Probably. They probably had to scrap some segments, and also it feels a little like the same thing happened with Triple X AMW heading into the Turning Point match, where it's like, there was a surprising lack of build to this match, and it's the same thing. It's like, the match is built.
Yeah, you don't really need to do a whole lot.
We don't really need to do angles to sell you on Styles, Daniels, Joe.
No. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you do. Joe's an interesting one for me because, like, I don't think you need to do a lot for Joe, but he is still very new. So it's like, but he still looks great. I don't know. It's a weird one. Joe's an interesting sort of case study for a built wrestler to a main event of a pay-per-view.
Where it's just like, you can just put Joe in there and people just kind of get it.
Yeah, I guess so, because like I was talking about this in the watch along where I don't actually think like the Joe build has been like crazy. Like the push itself, he's just kind of doing his thing, but like because he's a generational talent, that just seems to be enough.
Like they do have a beat everybody.
Yeah, like he beats everybody, but like you brought up, it's like it's not like he came in and just killed the world champion. You know what I mean? They just sort of did a gradual, reserved push. Maybe is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, like bringing him into the X Division was both, I think, the correct choice for the kind of wrestler he is, and actually, like, if he was wrestling a Raven at the moment, I think it would be a lot rougher. But bringing him in so he can wrestle Sanjay, he can wrestle Shelly, he can wrestle Sabin, he can wrestle Red, he can wrestle Shark Boy, and he can wrestle then AJ and Daniels. He's starting to ramp up. But so he can come in, wrestle good matches against good wrestlers, and also look like Samoa Joe. They've done such a good job of introducing him, even if I think somewhat didn't intend to, because as we talked about, there was some skepticism about how good Samoa Joe could even be until that Chris Sabin match when he became undeniable.
Yeah, do you think that a part of it was them trying to get him over as a really great worker as well as a monster? Because if they wanted to bring him in just as this unbeatable monster, you would have thought he would have gone into like a heavyweight style feud.
And we have always talked about how he sells more than he probably should.
But that's kind of the magic of Joe, isn't it?
But I think it lends credence to the idea that they're more interested in having great matches necessarily than being like Goldberg.
Yeah, because like if they were doing like a straight up monster push, he wouldn't be selling shit and he would just kill people. But I think maybe that's the biggest realization I've had about the initial Joe push watching it, is that he's not actually meant to be some unbeatable monster. He's just meant to be a really great professional wrestler. Yeah,
like I know I was reading The Torch and they were giving out, because in the sacrifice match, Styles did the torture rack bomb. And they were like, AJ shouldn't lift Joe, but like, that's not Joe.
Yeah, I think maybe that is the disconnect, and maybe that's what I was feeling until I kind of talked it out and worked it out. But yeah, he's not supposed to be a monster. He's a professional wrestler who happens to be really good and beats everyone.
And we kind of had the same talking point talking about Abyss.
But Abyss is meant to be a monster. I think maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, and that is the difference. Like, Abyss does sell too much. Abyss is too generous with everybody. He's bumping way too much for these guys.
But also, it leads to great matches.
Yeah, it makes Abyss a better wrestler, though probably does put an undue strain on his body for a man that size to be bumping the amount he did. But yeah, Joe just comes in and has great matches. And I do think you see, the second he had that Sabin match, he goes straight into AJ, he goes straight into Daniels and Joe, or Daniels and AJ. So I do think they're like, all right, let's get cooking with this guy after that Sabin match.
I'm curious if when he starts murdering people and does the blood shtick, if that's like kind of a deviation from what they're doing now, and that is to sort of make him more of a killer.
And I think more of a heel as much as anything. Because they're probably a little worried that this dude who's awesome and kills people and wins clean probably might get cheered.
Yeah, but like he kind of already is. Like maybe I'm misreading it, but like I've never really bought him as a heel this entire run. He's just a badass.
But he's definitely a heel.
Yeah, but like he's not doing cartoonishly heel things, I guess.
Which again is probably why he starts actively killing people toward the end of the year.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I don't know, like he's a heel, but he's not like a heel, if you get what I mean.
But have you considered how he disrespected Shane Douglas?
I thought that was a babyface move to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Ooh, franchise. Shut the fuck up, Shane.
Should have been Joe versus franchise. Get this Jushin Thunder Liger guy out of here.
Joe versus franchise might have been a better match in the end. No, it wouldn't.
Then you can do Liger AJ.
So the build to this starts on the August 19th Impact. First Impact of the pay-per-view cycle as Samoa Joe faces Jarrell Clark.
4 stars.
You did give this match 4 stars, so let you take this one away.
Alright, so I was riding a high off of Forbidden Door. And I was like, wrestling rules, and I love pro wrestling. And we were talking about how you were worried that was going to skew me the other direction as I watched TNA. But it started with Samoa Joe. So I was like, yeah, let's go. And then he just kills him. He just beats him up. And like, Jarrell doesn't get shit. When Jarrell came out, I was like, oh, dead man walking. I was like, he's smiling and he's happy. And I'm like, you're going to die. Why are you excited?
My favorite part is Jarrell does get a little flurry of offense and then goes for a moonsault and Joe just walks away. It's like, yeah, get fucked.
He did the Joe thing. Yeah, this is like a Joe best of the hits thing, which isn't bad because it's Samoa Joe.
And like Jarrell does a dive off the top rope and Joe just catches him with the SG Joe in midair.
The SG Joe is my favorite Joe move.
Oh, it rocks. And then Joe wins. Muscle Buster cooking a clutch. Again, overkill on killing poor Jarrell Clark here.
But it's establishing 2 finishes, which is cool too.
And today did note at the very start of the show that the Unbreakable X Division title match will be the famous Daniels and Joe X Division title match.
Yeah, that's what we're all here for. That famous 5-star Joe Daniels X Division title match.
So after the match, Daniels attacks with the X title. He hits Joe once. Joe's like, what? He hits Joe again. Joe is still like, what?
There's lore here too, because they're like, to the back it doesn't work.
What if I tried the jaw? AJ shows up and brawls with Daniels. Then Joe accidentally clotheslines Daniels. The Styles steps out of the way and then drop kicks both out of the ring.
And now we have a 3-way.
We do have a 3-way because on the next show, Chris Daniels shows up in Larry Zbysko's office.
Larry Zbysko's a busy boy.
Franchise has Zbysko and he's like, Larry, you're doing such a great job. It's going great here. And Larry's like, listen, I inherited a mess from the previous administration. So I'm cleaning up all of Dusty's problems.
So I was going to say, like, this is still going back to apparently Zbysko and Dusty Heat when they were both there at the same time.
Dusty hasn't been here for 3 months at this stage, and Larry is still throwing elbows.
It's like, hey, man, if the show's not running smoothly, it's your fault at this point.
So Larry makes the tag title match for the pay-per-view, which is AMW Team Canada Naturals versus the winner of the Chris Candido tournament. We'll talk about all that in a sec. Before Chris Daniels walks in and he's not happy. He's like, I'm facing Samoa Joe, but at all times, I gotta look over my shoulder because this AJ Styles guy's coming after me. Larry, you should do something about it. You should suspend him. You should take him down to the basement and chain him to a radiator. I don't care what you do. You should just keep AJ away from me.
I can't do that. Abyss is down there.
Have you not seen the spooky red room him and James Mitchell hang out in?
I'm not going to put AJ there.
They hate each other, famously. Two men cannot be chained to the same radiator. This is ridiculous.
I like the implication that Abyss is constantly chained to the radiator.
That's where James Mitchell leaves him.
With like a little bowl of water and...
It makes him feel at home in like his asylum or a little cage. It makes him like, it's memories of home.
It makes him feel home for when he's locked in for Monsters Ball.
And yeah, Kid Cash is also there abusing him. He doesn't work here anymore, but he's just shouting at Abyss.
And Goldilocks is down there too.
Yeah, all of the lost TNA acts are down in that basement with Abyss.
That's actually what drives Abyss crazy.
Larry's like, you know what? You raise a good point, Chris Daniels. You shouldn't have to look over your shoulder at AJ at all times. You can see him right in front of you. Because at the pay-per-view, it's actually going to be a 3-way. Styles, Daniels, Joe.
And Daniels is like, what?
I always like that heel routine where it's like, comes in, tries to manipulate his way into getting what he wants, but actually accidentally talks himself into something worse.
Yeah, it's when like cowardly heels actually show ass. It works. It's good stuff.
Daniels faced Shark Boy on the September 2nd Impact.
And boy, did he struggle.
He did. Shark Boy is a very potent force.
Until next week.
You know what the strangest thing about this match? It's not the fact that Shark Boy won. It's that Daniels let him kick out of the BME.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's... the story isn't like only just like, Shark Boy gets an upset win over the X Division champion. The story is Daniels actually had a hard time putting him away even before that.
Yeah, before AJ comes out, distracts Daniels, Shark Boy gets a cradle to win. Shark Boy kicks out of the BME. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, Shark Boy should have been added to the 3-way.
Yeah, the famous Styles, Daniels, Joe, Shark Boy 4-way.
5-star match.
Dave Meltzer's famous Shark Boy 5-star match. Everyone knows about it.
Yeah, everyone used to have that bit where it's like Bryan Danielson doesn't have a 5-star match, but Shark Boy does.
Yeah, him and Horace Hogan showing up Bryan Danielson. Daniels did have a loose cover on the BME, but still, he kicked out of a BME.
And like Daniels wasn't even like pissy about it. He was just like, all right, Shark Boy.
Yeah, AJ does cost Daniels the match, and Daniels is very mad. Which brings us...
He should be. Now he has to deal with 3 people.
Next week, go home show, Samoa Joe faces Shark Boy.
And he murders him in like 30 seconds.
He just absolutely runs through him.
It's so... like I love this bit where it's like Shark Boy, not only does he beat Daniels, he gets like... It's not 50-50, but it's like he gets some stuff. And then Joe kills him and there's not even a discussion.
I see Joe was wearing his black and white tights for this match, so you know he meant business against
notice
Shark
that.
Boy. It's like, that's respect right there. That is a man who respects Shark Boy.
Should have wore his blue.
So Joe kills
That would
him.
be them teaming.
That would be a good team. They'd have good matches.
What would the team name be?
What's the name of the clown from Twisted Metal?
Oh
No, he's playing the shark in Justice League, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
So it would be just like Killer Shark.
King
King
Shark.
Shark.
Killer Shark?
King Boy.
Yeah. King Boy. Well, if we ever get a King Boy tag match.
Or Boy Shark.
Boy Shark.
I forgot he was playing the doing the voice of that in the game. Yeah.
So Joe making big pop culture moves.
Yeah, he should leave wrestling. He should just become a cool guy.
No, he's just getting good again. Don't say that.
Joe, retire. It's fine. You don't need to
No.
wrestle CM Punk. Fuck off. Go to Hollywood.
No. At probably what, like All In? You're probably gonna see
Wrestling
Punk Joe.
living in the past. You don't need to do that again. You've done that before. You
don't-
beat
you
him
don't-
every
you-
time.
You're talking your way out of Punk Joe live.
Yeah, Joe can go live his best life playing sharks and or clowns.
What about Clown Sharks?
Is there such thing?
In my nightmares.
Daniels also did a real great go-home promo on the show.
Oh, this is like maybe the best Daniels promo I've ever heard.
And like for Impact backstage promos, a lot of the time they serve one of two purposes. One being none at all, or two being like just quickly make a match for the pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. They very rarely are like promos where guys are going to like sell a match.
Yeah. Well, this is a talk you in the building style promo.
Yeah, this is like you get 3 minutes, go for it. Sell this pay-per-view match. And Daniels damn well sold it. He's like, with Spike TV coming up, this is the most important moment in TNA history. And when you look to faces of the brand, you don't look at that guitar trickster Jeff Jarrett or that evil maniacal Raven. You look at like the professionalism and the technique of Christopher Daniels. And he will not be denied. He will not be deterred. His desire, his will, his spirit will prove September 11th on pay-per-view Unbreakable.
That's the gospel.
It is the gospel according to the fallen angel. Yeah, so yeah, Daniels, this run, fair play to Daniels. Like, the run comes to an end. He is the longest reigning X Division champion up until this point.
Is this the best Daniels run?
It's probably, like, definitely as a character. Like, he's been awesome on commentary. He was awesome in the AJ feud, just being like a little bitch to AJ. He's carried the title as like a main event heel in a way that nobody ever has with that belt. Like, AJ's been a main event babyface with that belt, but you've never had a main event heel. Like, Sabin, Cash, Michael Shane, they never felt like top guys with that belt, whereas Daniels did. Mm-hmm. It's a great run. It's a great run with the belt. Him on commentary every week has just been a joy. It's like fair play to this Chris Daniels run. And it's a shame most of it happened while they weren't on television. But
Yeah, he never got a chance to do it with Spike.
he did some absolutely fantastic work here in this run. Great go-home promo, sells the pay-per-view, and like willing to lose the Shark Boy. That's another thing where it's like, there's a lot of guys who might not be like, I'm not losing the Shark Boy, come on. Whereas he's like, no, I'm a heel, I'm going to show ass, I'm going to lose the Shark Boy.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a run, and it's capped off with a hell of a match.
Yeah, good title reign. And especially when your title reign ends with what many people call the best match in company history and what Dave Meltzer ends up calling one of the best matches in North America over like the last 5 years. You've done pretty well there. So the main event, Unbreakable, on September 11th, live on pay-per-view in 2005. AJ Styles defeats Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe to win the X Division title.
So, like, again, like, first thing you just mentioned there, the main eventing over Raven and Rhino.
Yeah, we were talking about a lot in the watch-along about how, like, Raven and Rhino's not a weak match.
No, it's one of the stronger main events they've had for a pay-per-view.
A lot of the time when you see a match main event over the world title match, it's often because the world title match isn't great. Mm-hmm. It's like a lot of the time it's like it's a Pillars 4-way we can main event with Anarchy in the arena, you know?
It's Tanahashi and MJF.
So a lot of the time you can it's just kind of acknowledgement that like the world title match isn't the most important match this month. As opposed to here where like it's Raven's last title match, as we'll find out soon enough.
No, you don't know that. And also I'm sure there's a part of it too that Raven's like, we can't go after these guys.
I think there's an acknowledgement of that. But even then, like they're doing plunder and shopping carts and blood, so
anything, that might have been the one style of match that could have gone past this.
Like there was a big critique of the match placement for Forbidden Door that people like Ospreay and Omega did, plunder and blood and all the every move under the sun. Should that have gone on last? Not because it's the biggest match, but it's because it's the match that is, I suppose, the most emotionally draining. But they ended up going on a third to last, and then the second to last match died a death, and then unfortunately the last match died a little bit of a death. But throwing a lot of shots at Danielson and Okada on the show.
You hate Danielson and Okada. Just admit it.
Terrible match, Gentleman's 3. But yeah, it wasn't a foregone conclusion for these guys. The main event. It was a call that was apparently made by Jeff Jarrett the night before the show.
All right, Jeffrey. Listen, you're back on my good side. Don't do anything drastic now.
And I think it was basically on the belief that like Raven and Rhino can't really follow that.
Yeah.
So that should go on last. And it's also like it's the biggest match based on Joe's performances this year, based on AJ's performances this year, and based on Daniel's performances this year. They earned that main event. It's not a thing just given to them.
No. Like it's more a pleasant surprise than an acknowledgement of it, of being like, oh wow, I can't believe it's the main event. It's just like, oh, I'm glad it got its spot.
So then they had the match.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone's seen this match.
It is like it's the TNA match. It's the most famous match in TNA history. It is the match when you think of what's a great TNA match, this will be the match literally everybody says.
Made Will Ospreay want to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah, so it has like long-standing influence. It is the TNA match. This is it. Styles, Daniels, Joe. A match that kind of, I think, put these three on the map as headline guys as well, at least on a national level. Mm-hmm. That like this is the match that kind of elevated all three of these guys kind of above the X Division, quote unquote. Honestly, it elevated the X Division above the X Division. This is one of those matches that probably lifted the X Division to being on like the level of being a main event title, even when like that's not necessarily maintained after those guys leave the division to do other things. But like this is the belt in this company now, and there is no question about that.
Yeah, I think that's been sort of the larger point that's coming out of this match is that you think now the X Division feels like the X Division that everyone sort of knows and loves at this point. Like this is what would become the defining feature of this company. And, you know, it comes from this really great match where they, like, I don't know, I don't want to go through and be like, here are all the spots that happened, but it's just insane. All these three, they have great chemistry with each other. I think they, even just like the sort of one-on-one interactions in here all fit perfectly. It doesn't feel like sort of the tired three-way formula that you see. It's at 1,000,000 miles an hour and like no one comes out of it looking bad. It's just one of those damn great pro wrestling matches. And I'm going to pose the question to you. I know the answer. I'm doing it for the people. Garrett, this is a 5-star match in Dave Meltzer's book. Is it a 5-star match in yours?
4.5.
I'm the same.
Which is a very top tier. It would be a match of the year candidate in that particular year. 5-star matches are feelings. I always say that they're not an analytical thing. If you're thinking, is it a 5-star match? It's not. 5-star matches are an emotional response to something. Like it's just like if you have to think for a single second, is it a 5-star match? It's not, because like you should come out, you should feel it in your bones when it's a 5-star match. Yeah. You should come out of that match being like fucking 5 stars, not a single solitary doubt about it. This is just like an awesome match. As he said, it's upends the 3-way formula, which literally everybody on Earth used, which is the 2-in-1-out thing, where there's always a guy on the floor, whereas these dudes are doing a bunch of 3-way spots. My favorite which is Daniels whips Styles into the corner. Joe whips Styles into the corner. Joe whips Daniels into the corner. Joe monkey flips Styles into... Nope. Daniels monkey flips Styles into Joe. This is the terrible combinations.
Do you want to start again? Like from the top. Hit it clean. You got this. I believe in you.
So Joe whips Daniels into the corner. Daniels monkey flips Styles over into Joe, who then ran as Joe. And then my favorite part of it, because Daniels did a monkey flip, he didn't actually see Styles hit the Rana. So Daniels just turns around and he's like, what the fuck? Why is Joe on the floor too?
This makes no sense.
What has even happened behind my back? I love that little touch, because obviously he knows what happened. They put the match together. But he's a little touch that he sells. It's like, what on earth just went on?
Yeah, he's like, I just heard bangs and I don't know what happened.
And I think they're like, that's what kind of helps elevate this match, that I think these three have such well-defined characters, that AJ is like your like white meat, clean baby face of the brand, kind of fight till the death kind of guy. Joe's your unstoppable monster who will just run through everybody in front of him and keep going until they're dead. And then Daniels is this like smug, conceited heel. Like the first exchange of this match is like they take turns kicking Daniels. Daniels stands up, screams, "Stop kicking me," in their face, and then they both kick him at the same time. Like there's just a bunch of little character stuff in this match that kind of elevates it above dudes doing moves.
I think Daniels is the glue in this match.
Yeah, and like Daniels ultimately is the least famous of the three. Like Joe and Styles, I think, have always gone on to more acclaim and have been bigger stars than Daniels ultimately ended up being.
No, I like unequivocally. Unequivocally?
Do you want to take it from the top? You might be able to get it this time. I believe in you.
Garrett, can you say it for me and then I can say it?
Unequivocally.
Unequivocally. There you go, clean.
Nailed it. Well done. And then Daniels is it's the guy that just holds this together and brings like the flourishes and touches. And as you said, like Daniels is every three-way under the sun should probably be put together by Dan. It's the same thing as like Christian's brain for the business. It's just like every ladder match in the world should be put together by Christian. Every three-way should be put together by Daniel.
Yeah, I believe it. The match, it rocks. It rocks on like all these sort of like little nuanced levels that you would expect from a match that has so much renown. It's great. And like just imagining, like we talked about it before, but like having the Spike TV people at this show, and then because this is a really good show as well. This is just a great pay-per-view. So having them at this show and they're like, wow, this and that and this, and oh my god, that hardcore match was really fun, and blah 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 blah. And then to cap it all off with this, they must have been like, what a tremendous investment we've made.
Yeah, because there is a note from the Torch. A group of officials from Spike TV were at the event in person and were said to be riveted by the match and the crowd response to the match. They were marking out for the show, says one TNA wrestler. Look at what they're used to seeing from WWE. That match blew away anything they had seen before. During the match, the crowd chanted, "This is awesome." And actually, my favorite part, the crowd chants, "This is awesome." And then Mike Tenay just says, "You're damn right, this is awesome."
There's one thing I can always appreciate from Mike Tenay is his pride in when things are good in the company he's representing.
Oh, he fucking loves it.
It also goes the other way, but when it's good and he not acknowledges that it's good, like the pride is absolutely dripping off of the man.
Yeah, like there's a spiral tap in this match that's just to break up a submission,
which is like done perfectly too.
They do a bunch of cool dives. Styles does a springboard shooting star to the floor. Joe does a corkscrew plancha, which the crowd go absolutely bonkers for.
Murders himself.
Daniels brings the X title into the ring and he's like, "Let me try this again." But Joe power slams him, takes it from him. But then Daniels enzigures it into his head, which is his weak point apparently. Back super strong, head very weak.
Breaking the Samoan stereotypes in pro wrestling.
Yeah, Joe is breaking barriers all over the place. Styles hit a Styles Clash. Joe broke it up. One of my favorite little things. But like Daniels dumps Styles over the top of the floor, and most people would take a normal bump. They would just go over the top of the floor. Styles takes the most ridiculous bump you'll see for that in your entire life. It's like, AJ, you stupid, crazy person.
There's a full rotation onto his face.
Yeah, it's just like, you did not need to do that for what is ultimately a run-of-the-mill pro wrestling bump. But he's AJ Styles, so of course he did.
He's also main eventing the pay-per-view, so I'm sure a bit of that is in there.
Joe crashes and burns to the outside, which leaves just Styles and Daniels. Daniels goes for the Angel's Wings. Styles reverses it into a pin. Goes overhead. Daniels is pinned. AJ Styles is the X Division champion for a 5th time, and Mike Tenay, of course, makes note that Samoa Joe is still undefeated. He was not pinned or submitted.
On a technicality, sure.
And Tenay ends the pay-per-view just saying, "Can we top this? We're going to do our damnedest when we return on October 23rd at Bound for Glory."
That's a great line.
That's it. It's the most famous match in TNA history. It lives up to the hype. It's a match that's aged pretty darn well because it has Joe during the peak of his powers as a performer, AJ during the peak of his powers as a performer, and probably, honestly, even Daniels during the peak of his powers as a performer. It's 3 guys like peaking at the same time, put in a main event spot, looking to like prove and earn it. It's like, yeah, damn right. We belong here.
And being 3 people presented at that level too, and delivering at that level.
And like I said, this is the only 5-star match in TNA history.
That's wrong.
It is wrong.
for multiple reasons.
But Dave does call it one of the best matches of the last decade in North America.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of quantifiers there, but sure.
Like, obviously, it doesn't live up to, like, the best of Japan, because, like, you have fucking Noah and all Japan in the 90s and 2000s, so...
Yeah.
Dave isn't going to be like, it's one of the best matches I've ever seen, but, like... when
he doesn't watch Ring of Honor, so...
I wonder, does Dave this year watch much Ring of Honor?
Well, no, because, like, if you look back at all those shows, like, that's the whole thing is, like, those guys weren't getting ratings.
Dave hates indie wrestling. If it happened to PWG, those guys would have a million 5-star matches.
Well, yeah, because he'd be at them.
That really was the game changer with Dave, wasn't it? He went to one PWG show and everything changed.
Yeah, it ruined his perception of pro wrestling.
But, like, in a charmingly good way.
Sure.
Because, like, most people get grumpier as they get older.
Yeah.
Not that I would have any experience with that.
No. Old 3-star kidney.
Like, Dave has gotten, like, the very opposite, where he's gotten very fast and loose, and he's just loving wrestling, which is kind of nice to see.
Yeah.
Daniels, in particular, was holding back the tears after the show, after it went off the air. While storyline it could be that he lost his title, it was really because of the emotion when the show cut off without getting the full impact of the live crowd chanting match of the year because they ran out of time. So that is AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe. We'll be talking about those guys for a while.
Yeah, those guys are pretty integral to the history of this company, I hear.
Yeah, both working together and individually, and as a tag team every so often.
Yeah, there is that whole run that you're a big proponent of.
Styles and Daniels are a great team. Shocker.
No, he's not on the show.
Yeah, for a different reason. That is... Yeah, I'm trying to put a button on this match, and I'm failing. like...
I mean, we said it earlier. It is the most famous match in TNA history. One of the most influential matches in United States pro wrestling. Influenced the whole style. Influenced the generation. With 3 generational performers performing at their best. What more could you want?
Thank you for putting a button on it, Liam.
Yep, I did it while taking my belt off too. What a professional.
Oh no, are you going to whip me?
No.
You're like, put a button on it! Put a button on it!
Get your shit together, Garrett. We're professionals now. We have to compete with Brian Alvarez.
If you can't do it, I'll whip it into you.
Yeah. That's why I made you retake that line 7 times before. We have standards now.